Welcome to the Core podcast. This one's a little bit special because it's just hosted by me. This collection of fantastic podcasts comes from a load of amazing, influential women in tech. I'm really excited to share this with you throughout October. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us today, just to take your time out and talk to us. Could you, for anyone that doesn't know you or the first time of listening to you today, could you give us a bit of context of who you are, where you work, how you've got there, how you ended up in tech and more specifically cybersecurity?
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Irina Nesterovsky, and I'm the Chief Research Officer at Kela. We are a cybercrime intelligence company. We collect information, data, intelligence, and research bad guys who do cybercrime. That's very briefly to answer that question. And I've been with the company for the past 7 years, even more. So that's kind of a lot for everyone who hears that. Is kind of, oh wow, that is a lot. And I kind of grew through the ranks from an analyst to a team leader to where I am today. And the way I got here is actually not. It's not a traditional way in anywhere other than Israel, I would say.
Okay.
But in Israel, as you probably heard, we have a mandatory army service in place. So my way into tech, into cybersecurity actually began in the army, in the so famous for some 8,200 units. It's the largest intelligence unit in the IDF. So that's where I got my intelligence training. And that's how I fast forward got into Kela after doing a bachelor's and a master's degree in two totally unrelated stuff. But then I kind of was looking for something else. I was looking for the tech. And so I started working at Kela. And the move to actually cybersecurity was pretty organic to me. A colleague of mine who's actually set up the cybercrime intelligence team here, she went on a maternity leave. I stepped in, so I learned like everything on the go from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's that's what led me here today, heading our cybercrime intelligence center, which is actually comprised of 99.9% women today. So we have one male representative now and then.
You let one man in.
Yeah. But overall, it's every meeting can start with, "Hi, ladies. How are you, ladies?" So it's very nice, actually.
So obviously, straight into the army, into the intelligence area of expertise. What does that look like for you as a woman? What are you learning day to day? What was it like?
So I don't think we're actually there as well. Majority women.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that was actually very interesting because you learn kind of how to analyze information. You learn how to, discern the important from the not important. You learn all sorts of confidential things.
Cool.
And it's actually quite exciting because eventually you just get to work. So it's like your day-to-day work in kind of researching something, writing something. So the army part kicks in the part of the uniform and
Right.
I don't know, having chores and not going home. But
But the day-to-day is like your job now, I guess. Looking over
sort of.
the data, and it gave you the great foundations for your career and where you wanted to go next. So
yes,
how long did you
exactly.
spend in the army, and then what was your next when you left? What was your next thought process of where you wanted to go?
So I served for 2 years.
Okay.
So that's kind of that was the basic amount of time. You could serve more. You could you could become an officer. You could become something like prolonged service for better kind of conditions. You would be like off charts, not off charts, but you would be a more experienced soldier, let's say.
Yeah.
But I just I wanted to finish that, and I had a bit of a pressure from my parents to go study. So
Okay.
as soon as I As I got discharged, I went to study brain science in Tel Aviv
Wow.
University because I figured that's the hardest thing they have, so I'll try that. It
Fair.
also sounded interesting.
Test yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, so I explored my way there. It was really interesting. It was not intelligence, but I also wanted to try something else. And then I proceeded kind of to a master's degree also in a different area. But eventually the intelligence part sucked me
Back in.
right back in. Just kidding. That's actually where I felt that, yeah, this feels right. And
And a good
this,
fit for
I
you.
like this, and yeah, that's a great fit. So that's kind of the short and the long of it. If
I find it really interesting speaking to you because I don't know, over here in the UK, I have a daughter myself, and growing up in the education system, there isn't really a big emphasis on cybersecurity or intelligence or actually even really getting girls into tech. So I feel like it's quite refreshing to talk to you that actually the majority of your peers in the army were women. Who you work with, majority are women. You obviously had some fantastic access to education, which is incredible. Do you feel that actually the industry is more spoke about where you've been brought up in education, and it's actually seen as an affluential job to get into, maybe compared to the UK?
so, I think that's despite what I said, like the 99% we're women-led
Mm,
team, etc. What we do here is engage in pretty much most of the stuff we engage in is not very technical.
okay.
So it's not your programming languages, it's not your, cybersecurity. Many times you say it, and the first thing that comes to mind is malware analysis, for example, or things that you have to kind of, know computers,
Yeah.
widely speaking, etc. So because we're not essentially that, I think it's easier to start in those positions. Not only start, to also, explaining why we had so much women in training in the army, but still, the number of girls I feel in Israel who are exposed to kind of the technical positions, not only positions but also education, is still not enough.
Okay.
So
So you're similar
and
to us
it's
then.
yeah. So you can still see. So I have two girlfriends who are software engineers,
Uh-huh.
and they've been through a totally like male-dominated, university
Right.
studies, because electrical engineering, you still don't get a lot of girls there, or
Right.
software engineering, it's more and more, but it's still, you will still see the majority of boys and men. I think, society-wise, or also education-wise, reasons, not enough encouragement of girls, like, no, this is not a boys' class. This is,
Mm,
all of you can take robotics. All of you can take, go and explore maybe initial programming languages. But since I haven't been to school for a long time, I don't know if a lot of things are done right now. I do know that we have programs that should encourage girls to kind of go into tech. There are kind of volunteering-based programs that women in the industry are trying to, give back to the community and trying to set up, and especially in places that are not as advantaged economically wise.
yeah.
So in those places, especially, you don't even get exposure to role models who are in tech, who
Mm,
are, doing something more. So that's super important, and it's being done, but I think still maybe not enough. So unfortunately, yes. So we have this,
same
exception
struggles.
in terms of, intelligence analysts, and I think in other companies as well, there are a lot of female, other similar companies in Israel,
Right.
um, and that's great. But
Yeah.
still, the R&D department, even in our company, is 99.9% guys.
Okay.
So
And it's a big piece, isn't it? It's because I think it, like you said, role models or people to look up aspirationally is quite a big key thing. Can't think of anyone as a child that I can think of in film or even yeah, characters in books or anything that made you think. And even having my two children, and I have a girl and a boy, and even their selection of toys is the robots and the trains and the cars all are on one aisle, and hers is all like the shops and the hair and the makeup and it's already pre-done at a very young age.
Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old and I have a 6-year-old, and it's already kind of predefined what toys they play with. And she's only really experiencing boy toys because she's got a brother in the room. So I think it starts, a massive part is education, isn't it? But it's also the role model piece. If you don't see someone as yourself in that role or that job, you assume. And I know there was this thing going around LinkedIn, and they were just saying descriptions, and you had to think whether you saw a man or a woman in the role, so that you'd say like nurse, and do you think of a man or a woman? You say doctor, do you think of a man or a woman? And it's that, isn't it? It's done from such a young age. And I know from like I've got board games that my daughter's got, and certain roles is the man and certain roles is the woman, and it's from that it's a re-education, it's a repositioning of a role for anyone to really change and to encourage. And I think that's a really important piece of having a role model or having someone in front of you that you aspire to be. I personally think cybersecurity, although I'm from a marketing background, is quite exciting. But what do you see on the horizon in, say, the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, of why someone that might be looking inwards into this podcast thinking, oh, I might delve into that. What do you think is really exciting for cybersecurity and why someone should have a look into it?
Sure. So first, actually, that's an interesting item you mentioned, because I also had this written down, the language of the positions. Because so, if, for example, in English, you have like, so you can say a male nurse, right? But, and of course, when you think of a nurse, you think of a woman.
Yeah.
But in Hebrew, for example, it's a very distinct separation between the male holder of this role and a female.
Okay.
And I just read this post by someone who said that she pitched an infographic for some news item about kind of how many people, I don't even remember what it was about, but she just switched the roles. So she said like male nurses and female doctors on screen. So she just changed those items, and it was kind of, people got mind blown from, okay, we're really used to seeing, the word for a male doctor and like female nurse. So that's really interesting, actually. But let's go back to the question.
Yeah, it is. It is language, isn't it? And it's more what you see on your day-to-day. So
that's kind of starting to, that's kind of what's sometimes is positioning kind of your perception of things. So I think that's,
If you can't, as a child, see yourself in that role, it's very then hard to then go through that career path if you can't see it in front of you. And it, completely makes sense.
Definitely. Definitely. But let's say in next 5 years, or, it is an industry that is changing so much. But I think that's one of the exciting things, one of the interesting things, that with a similar set of skills, you could have so many opportunities. You can dip your toes in, various aspects of cybersecurity with, I wouldn't say just the basic training, but essentially having some sort of understanding or reaching some sort of understanding of the industry. Learning something can take you to so many different positions, meaning that you can also interchangeably, switch between them. And I think that's, it's a wide industry with a lot of options to explore. So it's not just one thing, as, I don't know, I don't have a good example, but being a nurse. You can be a nurse in different places. And of course, you can be a cybersecurity expert or a SOC analyst in different places as well. But you can then also take this expertise as SOC analyst and go do something else, either in, even sometimes business development or customer success. And it's all very, very changing. So I think that's one of the interesting things about the industry. And also, I feel like most of the cybersecurity industry, at least, there is at least a disclaimed like goal for the company. So our goal is to protect organizations. Our goal is to, make a better place, a better, they all have this goal in sight. So I think for people who are looking for some sort of meaning or some sort of, you want to know that what you're doing matters,
Yeah.
or, it has an impact. I think that's quite easily traceable in many of cybersecurity companies out there. So um, I think it's refreshing if you think of, other positions. But yeah, I think that's
The main
kind of
reasons.
what can appeal to people to engage in that, or
Yeah,
women specifically.
and it's something that's not going away, right? It's not an industry that's going to disappear.
Unfortunately.
No, I think it's going to continue and continue, which is just something we've got to continue. I
Yes.
feel like, obviously, with that in mind, obviously we have a different education background as we're in different countries and things like that, and but do you think there's things that we could do, whether it's from businesses, because we've got that opportunity to share the message, or is it with schools or things like that, of how we can make this topic aspirational for someone to get into a role? I don't know if there is a one way to solve the problem, but do you think there are things that we could be doing quite quickly to get people encouraged to be involved?
Uh, yeah, I'm not sure if education of either, academic one, or sector-wise, or organization-wise, is quite the quick thing.
No.
But I do think, and I think we did discuss this a bit. Really, I think it's about society,
Hmm.
and not only society, like this vague concept, but really, either in kindergartens, as you said, like give the opportunity to girls to, to test out the different things. I think I read that in Sweden they have kind of gender-less kind of games, so
Yeah.
girls can choose to play with whatever they want. But that's really small. I think that as much as we push girls that maybe shy away from tech, and I'm saying tech, but really in school it's, it can be as little as math, it
Hmm.
can be, physics, although I'm not a fan of physics myself, but showing them that they can do that, that there is no, it's not like you can't do it because you're a girl. There are boys, there are boys, a lot of boys are actually, humanitarian. They
Yeah.
actually don't want to be in tech, and that's fine. It's as long as everyone knows they can be anything they
Want to
want.
be.
And not only know, but also, as we, you mentioned this, and brilliantly, the role model, and actually showing that, yes, mom of, I don't know, of Tamar is an engineer, and let's get her to talk to you girls and tell all about her day and how exciting it was to do ABC.
Mm.
So I think it's really about education on those different levels.
Yeah.
And obviously the programs that are, at least in Israel, starting to be sometimes even government sponsored, on kind of promoting the peripheral areas. Although Israel is small, we still have periphery, like economical
Yeah, of
like
course.
areas that are less advantaged. So promoting it there and really narrowing down the gaps, tech-wise in general. So I'm not sure if, we should put the emphasis on cybersecurity, although that would be great. But let's first make
It's
people not afraid
to
of
tech.
people and girls be afraid of tech, and let's show them what is there around. Because cybersecurity, of course, you have to learn specific things to get there, but you learn programming languages or something like that, and you can get into multiple places. So
Mm.
I think it's really about education on any of those levels, and the role models. So the friends I mentioned who are software engineers, so their parents also are both,
Okay.
engineers or programmers. So I don't think they even had this. Maybe they even didn't know that they can do something else, but that's aside. On the, like, this would be the opposite
Complete opposite, yeah.
example. Yeah, but I think, having that example, that's, the father is working as an engineer, the mother is working, constructing stuff or planning stuff, whatever. It shows them that, yeah, that's a legit
Mm.
way to go. And, if I'm good at math, or if I'm good at whatever, then I can go and do that. I mean, no one can tell me that I can't.
No.
So,
Do you think it's a confidence thing? Do you think sometimes that I don't know, that girls maybe like, I know wasn't overly confident at maths and probably then shied away from it even more. Do you think there's a confidence thing sometimes with girls of, I don't know, not making a fool of themselves, but trying something new or rolling the dice? And do you think sometimes we play it safe as women?
Yeah, maybe, but only because, we were made feel that one time that something wasn't enough, or I'm sure that, if you go through life with kind of nothing outside saying that you can't do something, or, oh, this is not for you, or something like that, I think the perception of failure is, I think many of it is external, much of it is external. Of course, you have your own traits and you have, how much you as a girl overthink stuff, which is always, but I think that's something that's also very dependent on kind of external feedback and how we process external feedback.
That makes sense, because I at primary school never remember ever being bad at maths, and then going to secondary school I got put into a set like of what level you were, and I wasn't in the same one as my friends that I went to primary school. So I remember that first week, like coming home and being like, oh, I'm not good at maths. And that was it. Like, I didn't change my opinion the rest of the time at secondary school. I was like, well, I'm rubbish at maths, but I'm in the top classes for these, so that's what I'm good at. Where maybe if I'd gone home and my parents were like, but you could get good at maths and you could move a set and you could knuckle down. I chose my environment, and I was like, right, I'm in the second set of maths. I'm not as good. And I even dumbed myself down of like, well, I am this level, so let's not ask more questions. Let's get a standard grade and just sit to it. So interestingly, you say how your environment can have an impact. Maybe if I'd walked out and gone, actually, I'm going to be in the first set, so thank you very much. Like, that's my challenge. It may have been different for me, but yeah, I just, I was in the first set of English, so I was like, okay, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at communication and things like that, so I'm going to stick that side. But yeah, that probably, without realising, those teachers and that head teacher's decision of what set they put me in impacted what I did.
So when your kids grow up, you can come to them and say, no, you should be better.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
No, but, I don't want to like stress, but I think if she came back and was like, oh, I'm not very strong at this, I'd be like, okay, well, that's okay. You don't have to be good at everything, but you can get better. And if you want to get better and you want to be good at it, I think that, I mean, my daughter's very competitive, so she's the opposite to me. She would have definitely walked out of that room and been like, well, I'm going to be in the top set, but that's just different makeup, isn't it? But yeah, I find that interesting how we're basically saying your role models, your environment, and potentially who you're at home with can have a big impact in which direction you go for your career, and may impact if you do get into technology. And hopefully, the women that are in technology now are going to be the role models and the inspirations for the next round, and there's lots more to come. You have mentioned that in this industry there is, there's a strong male, and we have strong men in our team. Obviously, they bring some fantastic things to the table. What do you think, as a woman, we bring to the industry, and what great things do we bring to the table as well? Because I feel we need both, and there can be like, it's an all male industry. Yeah, it is, but they bring some great things. But what do you think we bring positive and great to the table too?
Oh, everything. No,
no, that's fair. We bring it all.
Let's start with, I don't know, multitasking, but that would be kind of a stereotypic thing to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to choose multitasking, just kidding. I think that I'm not sure if that's kind of comparative to kind of men do this and we do this, the other way, and that's why it's good. I think it's just, to have a different opinion, to maybe have someone, and that's totally maybe not entirely work related, but kind of work environment related, to have someone more, soft isn't the word, but actually, acceptable of different messages.
My favorite word is empathetic. I think women are good with empathy.
Yes, scratch the soft. Empathy. So the empathetic part is really important. I feel like in my role as a manager, it's very important. So it's really important to hear people out, both professionally and personally, and that's what would make the work environment friendly and will allow you to actually go and reach things that you might have not reached if you were blocked along the way, or if your opinions would have been silenced. And sometimes, unfortunately, women, from what I read at least, are also either blocked, or they have the experience that, being the only woman in the room is intimidating. They might not speak up. So at least, having a diverse environment, not by force, right? Not like, okay,
No.
we have to have two women in the team, and that so that everyone can feel comfortable. I'm actually all for both things.
Yeah.
Say that we need women, but also, whoever is competent, let them fill the
The
room.
right person for the job. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get that.
exactly. So, but I think it's those items that I mentioned, and really because all of us are different people, so not necessarily because of the gender, but also because of it.
Agenda. Yeah,
Yeah,
experiences,
so
life
that we
experience.
can, yeah, so that we can bring this, sometimes different opinions, sometimes allowing everyone to take their place. Um, and we rock overall. So I think
We do.
that's
As a gender, we do absolutely rock. If you were wanted to speak to someone that maybe is just coming out of education or considering to go into this role, what 5 things or tips would you give them to start kind of getting into this career, whether it's a course to do or a mentor to follow? What would be your advice?
Sure. So that's actually a great question. It took me a while to think this down. So I would say that first of all, I guess to look at job descriptions, to find a job description that sounds interesting, try to learn what it's about, what it entails, what do you have to do, and clearly, coming from, just finished in school, probably everything will sound either as exciting or as terrifying.
Yeah.
So I would say, in addition to that, maybe see the people who are around you, or find people who already found work in the area that they can, you can consult with, and like what are the different roles are about. I know in Israel, at least, we have this Facebook group where people just write about the different
Oh,
positions
that's good.
that are in tech, and obviously, I'm sure those groups exist everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that would be kind of the major thing.
Yeah.
First of all, try to understand what is interesting to you, because you then can have different, learning processes to, to learn A, B, or C. Second, not sure if that's the exact order of the things, but overcoming the I'm not 100% fit for a position. So,
Yeah, that's an interesting statistic. Well, there's one in the UK. I don't know if it actually is a global statistic, but definitely in the UK, that when women apply for a job, they will only apply for it if they are 100% fit the criteria, where men will apply, if they're 50, 60%. So that is a big thing, isn't it? Obviously, us thinking that we can tick
yeah.
every single box on the requirement of a job set.
Yeah, I don't know actually what that is about. So you asked me earlier what I think like about something else, that why men are like this and female
Confidence.
me.
What do you think
Yeah,
it's a
exactly, that
confidence thing
one.
with women?
Yeah, but then again, I can say unfortunately I'm not prone to the statistic, right? So if I'm looking at some information, I would, or when I was looking for a position, it was like, okay, there are things here I can do, so I'm not a fit. So I'm not sure what it is about men that don't think like that, but
They're just
but I
very
would I would
confident.
say, yeah, but I would say that really, because the worst thing that can happen is that you won't get that job, but you could have not gotten it even if you
Anyway.
didn't try. So I guess better to try it out, because really I think recruiters are, looking at other things as well. So I think that's a
There's
good.
so many elements, isn't it, to a job? It's not just whether you can do the job. There's a culture, whether you fit
Hmm.
in, whether you think like the team. There's so much to it.
Yeah.
And
And I think
you learn so much on a job. Really, you do,
hmm
don't you?
exactly. And I think that that's actually a very important tip for really someone who's just finishing their education, because if they haven't tried for a job before, this could be intimidating, seeing all
Mm,
those positions. So just having, as a guidance, you then don't have to, to tick all the items, just apply. Not just, of course, if you don't fit any of it, probably your CV will go down the drain. But just try. And there isn't a rule that you have to apply only if you're 100% fit, because this is kind of, I think, a statistic that we created for ourselves, right? By abiding to this perception that we have for some reason.
We put so much pressure on ourselves. I think as women we do. We think we have to tick every single box. And like you said, you can't get better at interviews. And weirdly, if you're just starting out, the interview process is a two-way thing. You really want them to give you a job, obviously, 100%. But you don't know about that business until you step into the door. And I remember I went for a job interview for a great company in the UK, and I got offered it. And my dad was delighted. It was like, yes, it's, one of those brand names. And I didn't like it there. I didn't like the office. I didn't like the vibe. I just didn't feel like me. And I turned it down. And I remember him being so angry at the time. But it is a two-way street. And I worked out all right. But it is a two-way street. Like you've got to work's a big part of your life. So I think, an interview process, I think that takes a bit of the nerves off. If you go an interview knowing we're both getting to know each other right now, and we're both knowing whether this is a good fit, I think takes it off a little bit. I think you get told it's all about you trying to impress and get the job, but they need to impress you a little bit too.
Definitely. That's why we offer ice cream to everyone who comes in.
That's a good reason for me to come and visit you. On that note then, because I've obviously taken up a good amount of your time, just to close off, and the last chapter, you're currently in your current role and what that looks like, what the company looks like, and if someone hasn't checked you guys out, could you just tell us why they should be and what they're missing out on?
Sure. So first of all, we have a great porch on the 22nd floor in the middle of Tel Aviv in Israel.
Wow.
But to the professional side, I think we're just a great collection of people and technology that are doing our best to kind of protect companies from cybercrime threats, people who try already stolen employee information, who try to leverage on selling it, companies who already got breached or could be breached because someone gained access to their remote connection software. So if you think of how we work from home for the past, more than 2 years, people started using different remote control tools. So you would sit at home and connect to your work computer or server, and people got less, companies couldn't deal with this adequately technology-wise. So you could have, usernames and passwords just not really just floating around, but very accessible to cyber criminals. And if someone gets, for example, Kela's credential to some company network, that's some bad news. So our technology detects this information automatically from different cybercrime sources. And sources, I know that this is a word that's everyone in the industry uses it, but if you're not in the industry, it's essentially websites, it's forums. That's a very old word, but they still exist. Yeah. And Telegram channels, which is definitely not a cyber criminal, designed source, but they still use it. And we try to protect companies through that. So our clients purchase our technology, our service, and we work together with them to protect their environment, to show them what's out there and how they can protect themselves from the next breach, or not even the next, just so it will not happen. And to the question on what would be beneficial to, apologies, how we work and all of that. So I think in terms of helping a woman or helping women to actually work here and everyone else, we actually decided on a policy of limitless vacation days. So as long as, but surprisingly, no one goes off to the Maldives for 2 months.
No one takes it, do they? It's like no one takes it.
But I mean, it does enable that ease of mind in terms of, okay, if I have to have time off or I want to have time off, then I can do that. And that no one is, standing on my shoulder, like bureaucracy-wise, at least.
That's incredible.
Israel is not the champion of the number of vacation days overall, so we don't get a lot of those. So limitless
It's
is
pretty
great.
incredible, yeah.
Yeah, and just a great environment. See for yourself. I've been here for 7 years.
Yeah.
I like my view to the ocean,
I
to the Mediterranean. So.
And I bet you're just as and still you're very productive, even though you've got all that time off. I bet you work just as hard. It's just there that you know you can take it if you need to.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that. I think we need that policy here. I could do some more vacation days. Well, thank you so much. I could talk about this topic all day, but I think we've had a really good snippet. I know this is really early on with our relationship with you guys at Kela, and I hope it's the start of more conversations and talking about the technology more and how we guys can work with you. But thank you so much for being involved in this campaign. It's been an absolute pleasure. So yes, thank you very much, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye. I'll talk to you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Bye. Bye.